Welcome back to Tied Down TV, Punk Rock Opinion Show with me, Geoff.
And Danny.
Today we're doing top 5 Boston hardcore bands.
But before that, you want to shout out a couple of people?
Yeah, so a couple of people to shout out. First off, the band Unified Action, their singer Linz very kindly sent us a copy of their most recent EP, This Is a War, and it's fucking outstanding. Genuinely, like, as soon as I heard it, I thought, yes, right on my fucking street. Posted on the socials earlier on about it, but it's basically, to me anyway, sounds like a 80s hardcore from America, like Negative Approach, a little bit of Ripcord from the UK, and crossed with like Infesty kind of stuff, very fucking fast, awesome stuff. So yeah, if you've not heard them, definitely go and check them out. I'm very excited because they're coming to Liverpool in March. Managed Decline, going to be playing the next one of them, so yeah. And
also Spencer's an old friend of the channel. Yeah. He's sent us quite a lot of stuff over the last year,
dudes,
so can't wait to get them a spin.
And the Domestics, fucking good, man. I've listened to both of them, they're great. Yeah.
So after last week's quite emotional episode, the Geoffs, so what it was a lot of hard work, a lot of emotion went into that. It was quite a decided to just relax a bit and have a normal episode, nice
back to the old top 5.
A nice normal episode today, and we're going to have a look at Boston hardcore, another really influential city in the history of hardcore and punk music. You look way back to like the Boston Crew, bunch of bands like SSD, DYS, Jerry's Kids, all that lot. You look at that stuff. You look at like a band like Siege and their influence on grindcore and power violence, and then you look at through the 90s. When you look at like the youth crew revival bands like 10 Yard Fight, In My Eyes, Bane, all that stuff. Going right up to now, and I'm sure there's even some important periods I've missed out just in that quick thing. So forgive me, it's been a long day, but yeah, it's such an influential city for hardcore, just like New York, American hardcore, just like New York, just like LA, and a lot of other places. Yeah. So but what is kind of funny is it's so influential is the amount of bands that we've had to leave off our respective lists. Yeah. I was looking and I was thinking,
there's a lot of bands we're not really thinking.
You know what I mean? Like. No Slapshot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I seen came and saw your list. I knew I hadn't picked them. I was like, ooh. Well, I was like, no Slapshot. I mean, wow.
There is, and there's a few we'll shout out. Maybe I'll shout out through as we're going as well, because there's also a couple of big bands who are great, just haven't gotten on my list. As a city, when it comes to music, even just like stuff surrounding punk as well, you got like Mission of Burma come from there, Modern Lovers, the band The Cars as well. From Boston, all successful in their own right, all kind of, adjacent to punk, if not a part of it. But as a hardcore thing, you've got DC, you've got LA, you've got New York, and you've got Boston. I mean, they're 4 big hitters in America, definitely. Yeah, and obviously the big labels, Exclaim and Tang, the records, massive. I think almost all the bands I've picked are on 1 or 2 of them labels, basically.
So the bands I've picked, I'd say there's definitely a couple of not so obvious ones on there. But this, as I say this quite often, people, as this is the Punk Rock Opinion Show, gotta be true to my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's a couple of obvious ones on there, but there's also definitely a couple of ones that might be obvious to some, taste is, it's opinion in it, but there's definitely a few in there that I think are a bit less well known. Yeah, but I really love them.
There's one band you picked I've never listened to at all, not familiar with. Yeah. Oh, I am going to listen to just based on the name.
Yeah. So who's going to go first here?
Up to you.
I'll go first. SSD Control, obviously. Who's the first band you think of when you think of Boston?
Hardcore,
you think of them first 2 albums. Kids Will Have Their Say. Get It Away. Bit of debate actually with people, interesting conversations I've had over the years with quite a few people about which one they prefer. A lot of, they're so good, both of those 2 records.
What's the general consensus thing?
Well, it's funny, it seems to be an age thing I've found. Like a lot of the older crowd seem to really think that Get It Away is, a fewer people I spoke to really think it's the pinnacle of American hardcore. Some people, Simon Kelly absolutely loves it.
I know, yeah.
Ron Baird had conversations with him, Starlight 13. He even outside of our interview, he's told us he thinks that is one of the pinnacle hardcore records ever. Yeah. Maybe I prefer The Kids Will Have Their Say because I just love Boiling Point so much. That song is just, the whole album's great, but that's just one of my favourite hardcore songs.
That's my favourite of the 2.
Kids Will Have Their Say. Yeah.
not necessarily a specific song, just more. I heard that one first.
Yeah,
I think, and that's the one that had the impact. I like both of them. Both
yeah,
of them
I love. I mean, both of them have got iconic artwork, but that thing with them running up, storming the White House with the straight edge
jacket and all that, yeah,
really iconic image, and that was so hard to get for so many years. And trusted that reissue.
We were so excited.
I bought like 4 of them.
Yeah, you did.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I was so excited. And you know, you got to think as well, for better or for worse, pioneers of like the hardline straight edge philosophy.
Yeah.
And Al Barral himself has very kindly a few times, people might not know, as of more than one occasion reached out to this channel and
he's commented on a couple of videos and on the Instagram as well.
And said he's a bit of a fan of the channel.
Yeah,
so
it's very nice.
All that plays into my little heartstrings as well a bit.
Of course.
Yeah, so
they're a fucking legendary band.
But you know, first band I think of when someone says Boaton Hardcore, it just straight away SSD.
Definitely.
That's my first pick.
Nice. So my first pick, I've gone for Siege. Danny mentioned at the beginning. So they formed in 81, ran till about 85 initially. They're from Weymouth, which is not that far south from Boston. Played obviously in Boston a lot, associated as a Boston band, and very, very influential, as you said, on power violence, grindcore, just straight up fast as fuck hardcore. Like, as I say, they 81 to 85, they split up, and they reformed. The first time they reformed was 91, and they had Seth Putnam from Anal Cunt did vocals for him for a brief period, which is interesting, knowing Seth Putnam's history. Like, but they're a fucking legendary band, and whenever conversations, like you say, about power violence, grindcore come up, they're so influential on like all those early first waves of those genres. Even though I believe, I'm not mistaken, they've recorded less than half an hour of music, total. Yeah. You know what I mean? Excluding demo versions of songs on the Drop Dead release and things like that, but for a band to have put that minimal, and obviously in hardcore it's not unheard of for bands with a small discography to be massively impactful, but they were just kind of like, I guess, right place, right time, with that edge of that, like say, that speed and that ferocity of them. That Drop Dead is one of my fucking 80s hardcore, like one of my favourites. Absolutely amazing. A little bit of an outlier in hardcore, I imagine, at the time when it came out, but yeah, 100%. I think, as I say, Siege, they were one of the first bands I thought of when we talked about this as well. Yeah. So that's my first pick.
My second pick of my top 5 Boston hardcore bands is Wrecking Crew. I've mentioned Wrecking Crew on here a few times, and I believe I picked their album Balance of Terror for one of my lists. I can't remember, it was the American Hardcore 85.
89? 85, 89.
But also that 7-inch, that 7-inch they did in 1988 with the cover with the skull on.
Yeah.
It's just the way hardcore should be, in my opinion. It's got that kind of like, vocals sound very early agnostic fuzzy, that kind of thing. And it's just them two, the 7-inch and the album together are just amazing American hardcore. Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, superb. So next one for me, again, band that was mentioned at the beginning, one of the big X-Claim bands, Jerry's Kids, formed in 81, and This My World. And funny enough, you mentioned Mr. Ron Baird, Starlight 13. He talked about that album when we did the interview with him quite a lot, and how that's one of his favourite hardcore albums from the period. And I remember saying to him, I feel like maybe it's a little bit underrated, although everyone knows it.
Yeah.
It's never like, I don't know, you see those general conversations of top 10 hardcore albums from the 80s, and obviously you've always got Group Sex, you've always got Damaged, etc, etc, but I always feel like that's not as am I boring you, lad?
Yeah.
That's not as I don't know, maybe not talked up as much. It's just great fucking straight up hardcore. I've never heard the other album, Kill Kill Kill, I think it's called, but based on Is This My World alone, they're a fucking top notch band. As I say, again, associated heavily, they're a Boston hardcore band. When you think of Boston hardcore, I think they do tend to come up in the conversation most of the time. So that's my second pick, Jerry's Kids.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not that I found you boring.
I know.
I slightly disagree. I do think that's quite a highly rated. I mean,
it is.
You know what I mean?
It is.
I guess it's
rated,
yeah.
But
I don't know. I see that quite a lot on lists, but you know, maybe we've been just that's just my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
My next, my number 3 on my top 5 Boston hardcore bands, and now this is maybe a bit of a red herring thrown in there, but I truly think this is a real masterpiece of Intent to Injure.
Okay.
Right, now Intent to Injure, they released a EP in 1989 called Keep Us Strong. Right, I don't know how this got in my record collection. I've had it for a long, I'm talking about 15 years I've had this record in my collection. Usually when I don't know where a record come from, it's usually because I bought it in a job lot.
Yeah, okay.
So I got it with like, I loaded about 20 records off someone, and then I've gone through all the records later. Keep Us Strong EP by Intent to Injure is absolutely phenomenal. And if you're going to go away from this video and listen to something that's maybe not so well known, and I'd strongly recommend go and listen to this. It's got very basic cover of a pit bull's head on, and that image is all you need to see to give you an idea of what this is going to sound like. This is fucking nails. This is hard. This rivals anything that for hard sounding, tough sounding hardcore. Yeah. This rivals anything that was coming out of New York at the time. It is absolutely incredible. They did not release much. It's so good. I can't believe people don't go on about Intent to Injure as much, that much, because it really is that good, this single. Now, they also appeared on the Boaton Hardcore compilation with a couple of songs. Now, obviously everyone knows this is Boston, not LA compilation. There was another one that came out, just simply called Boaton Hardcore. Now, here's a little bit of trivia for you. Now, if anyone out there watches films as much as I do, and you're familiar with the movie American History X, which we all know is an absolutely amazing film, if you have got an eagle eye like me, and if you've seen the film a lot of times, you'll actually see the Boaton Hardcore compilation I'm talking about appear in the top left of the Vineyard's bedroom. They've got on their on the propaganda wall they've got that they take down. Yeah. The Boaton Hardcore album is on that wall, and it's part of the stuff they take down. Now, how the hell whoever's idea it was to stick that on a Nazi wall, I do not know. Isn't it? But I'm sure there's some eagle-eye hardcore kids out there who've seen that and have probably questioned it as well. But there's a little bit of trivia for you if you haven't noticed. Now you know.
That's a fucking great film.
Yeah, but Intent to Injure, and the EP that I'm particularly referring to is Keep Us Strong. Everyone check that out.
Nice. All right, next pick for me, another big one, Gangrene. As not a lot needs to be said. Most people know who they are, but for those who don't, formed in 1980. I think they split around 84, and later that year got back together with a slightly, maybe majorly different lineup. Recorded the Another Wasted Night album, which, if you went back to our crossover episode I picked, fucking outstanding, flawless, hardcore, skate punk, crossover, whatever you want to call it. Unbelievable band. They were on Tang Records, which again we mentioned at the beginning. Songs like Alcohol, Skate to Hell are the big ones. They're like just a big up fucking like almost like a partying hardcore fun time band, aren't they? Later on, definitely went more on the thrash side and maybe lost me a little bit in terms of I'm not as big a fan of straight up thrash as I am as the crossover thrash. But unbelievable bands. Like say, not a lot that I need to say about them because most of you have probably heard Gangrene before. If you haven't, definitely go and fucking check them out.
Yeah. My next pick of my top 5 Boston hardcore bands is a much more recent band of what we've been talking about. I've gone for No Tolerance. I love a bit of that really tough sounding straight edge stuff. And they bring it tough and heavy and moshy. And they released a demo, I think an album and like an EP. I managed to pick up the demo while I was on holiday in Malmo, and I found it. I paid quite a bit of a hefty thing for it. But another thing with them is they played the New Brighton, Fort, and it was that was the first time I heard them at that gig, and they were amazing. And I got the shirt, and it was just when I started training, so I didn't get much wear out of it. I think I grew out of it in about 6 months, but it was an amazing shirt. But they've got a sound similar to, if I had to compare them to someone, the band from Seattle, Washington, Brotherhood.
Okay.
They had an album out with songs like The Deal on a lot of bands cover and stuff. I think No Tolerance sound very similar to the band Brotherhood. And I really love that, just that hard, really just fucking... straight edge, just fucking in your face, just like that.
Oh, straight edge in your face when that slaps.
Oh, hey. Go on. Yeah. So, No Tolerance for me.
Nice. Okay. So next pick, no Slapshot, but I've picked Negative Effects. Personally, I prefer Negative Effects. Very short-lived. I think they were around barely a year. Played about 5 shows. Recorded 1 album, which got released about 2 years after. And again, talking about Tang Records, I think that was number 1 Tang release. That was the first thing they did. And they're just like a fucking straight up, very fast, not a lot of melody, a lot of gang vocals. Again, part of that like straight edge Boston knocking beers out of your hands, with Jack Kelly or Choke.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking amazing. Definitely one of my favourites, and I've definitely picked their album for one of our lists. I can't remember which one. Because I say, fucking love it. Great band. Last Rites are great, and Slapshot are great as well. Yeah. Just like I say, I much prefer Negative Effects' album to anything of Slapshot's. But again, not much needs to be said. You all know it. You all know the iconic picture of Charles Manson with the logo on his head, and fucking great band. If you've not heard Negative Effects, definitely go and check them out. Get like the discography on CD, can't you, with the Last Rites stuff on it as well. It's fucking brilliant. So yeah, Negative Effects.
The Countercultural Day last week with the Flex and that on, I was stood outside for a while. I was talking to Tom O'Brien.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking about the appeal of bands who have problematic characters as singers, and how the appeal of it and stuff. Well, I think my last choice of band definitely has that. I've gone for a band called Colin of Arabia.
That's the band I've not heard of.
Yeah. Now, if you want to hear really gnarly, angry hardcore for the kid that isn't right at the back of the class, that really isn't right at the back of the class, listen to Colin of Arabia. The singer Colin, I'm not sure of his surname, but the singer's name is Colin.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever watch Boston Beatdown, he features quite heavily in Boston Beatdown. He's clearly, a little bit unhinged, or he was back then. And it comes across in the music. It really, really comes across in the music. They're an amazing band. They're so, like I said, he's one of them vocalists that when he sings, the way he sings, he fucking means it, right? He means that shit that he's singing about, and you can tell, not just in what he's saying, but the way he delivers it.
Yeah.
I remember saying something about the band Earth Mover. This is why I love the band Earth Mover so much. Almost sounds like they're clawing at their own sanity when they sing people like this.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love hearing that type of stuff. The song I'd probably say to go and check out by him is the song I at first ever heard, and it features on Boston Beatdown, and that's 50 Bag of Hate. 50 Bag of Hate, it's only about 30-40 seconds long. It's just amazing, really good, so good. Colin of Arabia are my last choice.
Nice. My last choice are a band that technically are from a little bit north of Boston, a place called Salem. I've gone for Converge, but synonymous. Obviously Salem, I believe, is again about 15 miles up the road from Boston. They play in Boston all the time. I always associate them as a Boston hardcore band, so I'm picking them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one of the only metalcore bands that I have any time for whatsoever. I just find them unbelievable every time I listen to them. They've got a varied, vast discography. They're still pretty consistent now, up till very recently. Every release they've put out I've enjoyed on some level, obviously some more than others. But just artistically, like the visuals of them is fucking stunning. You've all seen the Jane Doe logo, and that's everywhere. It's kind of become synonymous with the band in general. I love Jacob Bannon's vocal delivery. It's like a fucking barking wolf, and then he, sometimes he sings. It's mixed of hardcore, it's a mix of metal. I can't remember his exact thing. Jacob Bannon, he tried to describe it as something like they were too metal for the punk kids, too weird for the hardcore kids, and too ugly for everybody else. So they always kind of felt like they didn't quite fit in any of the pockets, but they amalgamated things from all of them. But just a straight up great band for me personally. Like I say, big band for me as well. Especially, although as great as I think their 90s stuff is, especially songs like The Saddest Day, from obviously Jane Doe in 2001, You Fail Me, Axe to Fall, No Heroes, those albums all just fucking blow my mind, and still to this day I'll throw them on all the time and enjoy them. So yeah, Converge, that's my last pick.
I don't want to pull the rug under your feet, but have you got a honourable mention?
Yeah, I'll go Have Heart.
Have Heart. I'm going to go for two. I'm going to go for Slapshot since you've left them out, and DYS.
DYS? Okay, well I'll go another one, the FUs.
The FUs, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go, they're my two, Have Heart and the FUs. So thanks for watching, that's our video. You know the score, like, subscribe, go and ring the bell if you want some notifications. Jump on the Instagram and the Facebook, give us some messages, follows, likes, all that stuff, all helps, and we love hearing from you, and we'll see you next time.